Alright, welcome everybody to Zenith Online Racing. This is EU Tier, the French Grand Prix. We are back on schedule now. We had the Chinese Grand Prix out of order, but we're back on schedule now. So only 12 drivers today, a little bit smaller field. Will make my job a little bit easier as we have fewer drivers to keep track of, but we will see who is brave enough to be the first on track today. Here a car firing up, looks like JX. So we will follow on board with him today, but looks dry for qualifying so far. He's going out on the mediums, it looks like. You can one stop here on the mediums from mediums to hard. With a smaller field of only 12 drivers, it will probably be a little bit easier to get into the top 10 on those medium tires. So we could see drivers going for medium tires in qualifying a little bit more. Most drivers so far going out opting for the softs, so maybe they're, with the smaller field, fancying their chances of taking a run at pole position today. But France, kind of like China, I don't want to jinx us again, but France, kind of like China, can be a race where you have quite a bit of rain-affected Grand Prix, so hopefully we are able to keep dry today, make for some good, clean, and close racing, as France so often provides. So as JX is winding his way through the third sector, just noting almost everybody else on the field except for the two racing points are out, and almost everyone on softs. So JX, Beck, and XL J. Cole all opting for the medium. So we will follow on board with JX, get to learn the track a little bit, and watch his first lap that he's setting. So opening up the DRS. This is a track where you can run into issues as the pit during qualifying, as the pit exit is right here, so right on the racing line as they're going into turn one. So we'll have to be very careful, make sure we don't have any incidents there. Pretty tidy through the left-right chicane of turns 1 and 2. He's going to sweep over to the left now for another right-left chicane. He goes in a little deep there, and that's compromised his line. He couldn't get rotated quite as easily. Had to take a couple stabs at the steering wheel there. Through that right-hander as well. Smooth through turn 7, and now I think my favorite part of this whole circuit is this chicane here in the middle of the straight. So he's going to be braking hard. You can take a lot of curb there on the left. Looks like he had a little bit of trouble rotating the car there, but got it through in the end. It's going to come all the way over to the left. He's maximizing his track, that space on the track here. Going through that completely flat right-hander, and for a very tricky braking zone here of turn 11. Looks like he got definitely could have carried a little bit more speed through there. Ooh, ran very wide. Had to correct. So it looks like he's struggling just a little bit on the medium tires, not quite hitting his spots like he'd want to. He had to take another couple stabs there. A little bit of a lockup through the final corner. Pretty decent lap though. It'll be a tidy, nice banker lap for him. But that is a 131.7. As Dylan, alright, look down for just a minute. Dylan has set the standard for the soft tires on a 129.0, so quite a difference between the softs and the mediums. Yellow flag in sector 1, I think that's just Dylan going slowly to allow people to get through, but I think Beck was one of those drivers. Oh, no, that wasn't Beck, that was Puddle Master, my mistake. We'll see what Beck does though, crossing the line on the mediums. He goes 130.0, so ahead quite a bit of JX. Miami and the other Renault in the meantime has set a 128.6, so some really competitive times being set. As J. Cole goes just slightly faster on those mediums at the 130. We'll see what Bag of Bones is able to do as he's weaving his way through the third sector here. Very tricky third sector, a lot of challenging braking zones. And the tires, even the soft tires, can start to fall off a little bit. He looks like he's abandoning his lap. Bag of Bones is, so he's not too thrilled with his lap. Fuzz looks like he's maybe invalidated his flying laps. So Moglis looks like he's on an out lap, or maybe he invalidated as well. Only other looks like, yeah, Bag of Bones finished with that time, but a lot of people coming into the pits, so either maybe invalidating times or just not setting full times. Trying to find anybody on a flying lap right now. Beck looks like he's out of fuel. Bag of Bones is invalidated. Barton, the first of the medium runners to get into the 129s, a 129.4. Be pretty pleased with that time. He might choose to stick with that, seeing as that puts him P3. Might be worth him sticking with that time. His teammate Bag of Bones limping back to the pit, so a lot of looks like invalid laps, or people just maybe going out for a cider lap and then coming back in. But as Bag of Bones almost misses the pit entry there. It has been changed since F1 2019. I believe the change was effective. I don't remember, but it is a different pit entry than was originally on the F1 games for this track, so can take some getting used to. But yeah, some drivers now looking like they're going out for their second lap, so we will follow on board with Puppet Master. It looks like one of the Renaults of Dylan is also on an out lap, as well as maybe the Williams of XL, J. Cole. I know that's a different XL. And looks like one of the Mercedes is on an out lap. It looks like it's Zimaglis, so we should hopefully see a lot of these drivers who have yet to set times, as that other Renault has also joined. So the second run starting now. After the first run, we only have about half the field with valid laps, so and Bag of Bones abandoned his lap, and JX, as we saw, struggled a bit on those mediums. He's coming out on the softs, so a lot of drivers opting to go for the soft tires. Beck and Barton both inside the top 5 right now on the mediums. Could definitely see each of them maybe choosing to press their luck and keep those times. See if those times are still good enough, because if you can start on the second row, on the second or third row on the medium tires, I think you're in a pretty good spot. So, as Puppet Master starting his lap. Ooh, a little wide there. Did well to keep it within track limits. Through that left-right looks pretty tight. He stayed tight on the left side, which you need to do to open up that right-hander. A little squirrely on exit there through turn 5. Got it sorted out pretty well through turn 6 and turn 7, taking a lot of curb there. You don't need to take that much curb, as he looks like he's invalidated his lap somewhere along there. So we will have to let's get. Looks like Dylan's on his out lap. Let's follow along with Miami, our pole sitter. Currently, we'll see if he can improve his time at all. Coming through that tight turn 5, through turn 6. He's found 3/10 just in the first sector, so he's really enjoying this lap so far. See how brave he's going to be into the chicane. Maybe not taking as much curb as he needs. Maybe not taking as much curb as he's allowed. Did find another 2/10 though, so if he can find a little bit more time in this third sector, he's going to be down into the 27s, which will be a very, very quick time. We'll see if anyone can match that, but that is going to require him finding a little bit of time through this third sector. Looks pretty tidy so far. Looks like a little bit of lap traffic. Somebody on the mediums, one of the Mercedes. Doesn't look like it's getting in his way too much. Through the final corner, he actually is going to get a nice little toe down the pit straight. And he is just a 10th off, so he couldn't find that time in the third sector like he might have wanted. As J. Cole looks like he has not been able to improve his time, or maybe it was invalid. Beck going out on the mediums again. He's found a little bit of time through the first sector, so he might be, as a lot of these guys, taking their chances on the mediums, as we see a few drivers now up in the top opting for those medium tires. He's found 2/10 now through the first two sectors. So he still will be in the 29s. He's a long way off pole position. He's still needs to find 4/10 through the third sector, which is going to be a big ask if he wants to get ahead of Barton. But he should be able to get ahead of J. Cole and further solidify his spot on the third row. Gets pretty good traction out of there. And he is going to just barely, by 0.004 of a second, beat out J. Cole. Every little bit counts here, though. Let's follow along with Barton now, as he's going to be starting his next lap. So far we've got 4 of the top 6 runners all on the medium tires. Fuzz and Puppet Master, both in the pits, have the mediums fitted currently. We'll see if they choose to go out with those tires. But with a like I was saying, with a smaller field, ooh, he runs a little bit wide there. Takes a lot of curb as well through turn 7. But with those smaller field, medium tires should be a little bit easier to get. It should be a little bit easier to get a good grid position on the medium tires. So if you can have that tire advantage in the race, mediums are, I think, the better race tire than the softs. As Barton has found half a second, so he is looking to be in the high 28s now. It looks like he's still got some time to find. I don't think he'll get ahead of Miami this lap, but he could beat Excel and get a spot on the front row if he's able to continue finding time here in the third sector. He thinks better of it. Looks like he's diving into the pits. Let's just check and see. So far, the best laps, Miami set a time on the softs, as has Dylan. So Renault going for the soft compound tires. Everybody else in the top 10 going for the mediums so far, with the exception of Bag of Bones, who just came into the pits. So as the tires fitted for their best lap, let's see what they have on right now. Most of them are the same, with the exception of J. Cole, JXW, and Dylan. Puppet Master, will see what he's able to do. It looks like he's definitely opting to qualify for the mediums. He's left it here towards the end of the session. Puppet Master, as we've seen in past races, has got a lot of pace. And he is putting all his eggs in that one-stop medium-hard strategy basket. So we'll see how that works out for him. The only bad thing about running the trying to do the medium hard is it essentially makes qualifying a one-shot, as you only can take one set of medium tires. So the pressure's on for him right now. looks pretty tidy through turns 8, 9, and now through the left of turn 10. Sorry, there's turn 10. Now braking for turn 11. Pretty good job. He carries a lot of speed. You can see how far out to the left he went. Carrying a ton of speed through the third sector here. He looks pretty comfortable on those medium tires. I don't know if he'll be able to challenge Miami for pole position, but this certainly looks like a pretty competitive lap from him so far. So he's opening the DRS, heading down the back straight. He sets a 29.1 on the medium tires. Very solid lap. That's the second quickest on the medium tires so far, only 2/10 off the XL Zuidema. My apologies, but off the other XL. So he'll be pretty happy with that. And yeah, if he can start second row with half the field ahead of him on softs, he'll probably be pretty pleased with that. Dylan on an outlap now, doubling down on that soft strategy. Looking further down the field, Zamoglis looks like he is staying in the pits with his medium tires, so unless it looks like they're maybe taking the tire blankets off, he's going to have to hustle to get around. I don't think he'll be able to get around and set a lap in time. But that's Janet at the end of the pit lane now. Zamoglis looks like. Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. So we don't want to miss any of the action as Fuzz is coming across the line now to start his lap. He, like Puppet Master, is opting for that one shot on the mediums, and now he's in a position where if he invalidates this lap, he can't even take another run. So Puppet Master covering his bases a little bit, where if he had enough fuel for it and invalidated a lap, he could have carried on for another lap. But Fuzz is putting all the pressure on himself now, as this is going to be his only chance to set a competitive lap. Let's see what he's done so far, as J. Cole goes on the soft tires and goes 128.0. So he gets ahead of Miami by almost a full 1/10 of a second. So we'll see if Miami, who's in the pits, actually won't be able to fight back from that. So we'll see if anybody else out on track right now on the softs is able to challenge for pole. But a good lap from J. Cole, getting very close to the 27s. Ooh, Fuzz with a lockup there into the final corner, and that's going to cost him some time. And looks like he's slowing down, doesn't want to maybe get into the top 10 if that's going to be his time. He's squeezed by just in 10th. As Zamoglis, or as Janet, it looks like, has invalidated his lap. Zamoglis also looks like he's invalidated as well. Beck's invalidated, so a lot of these drivers towards the end of the field, this is it for them. Bag of Bones, if he's able to if he's able to improve on his time, will push Fuzz out of the top 10, which will suit Fuzz well, I think. And he does. So Bag of Bones will be starting 10th on the medium tires. Didn't look like anybody else could challenge there up at the front, so because of that mixed strategy, some of them maybe our usual contenders for pole position, Barton, Puppet Master, Zamoglis. Because of that mixed strategy, some of them choosing medium, some of them choosing softs. So it is XL J. Cole on pole position with a 128.075, so a very, very good lap time from him. He's going to be probably just slightly disappointed that he couldn't break into the 27s, but he should be very happy with his pole positions. Miami in second, just about a tenth separating those two, so it should be a pretty interesting battle off the line for the first couple laps between those two. The other Williams, the other Excels we demo, is in third place on the medium, so he's the first of the medium runners. Definitely going to be one to watch in the race, seeing how he can move up the field. Dylan, the other Renault, is in fourth, so we got Williams, Renault, Williams, Renault for the first two rows. Puppet Master in fifth. He's on the medium tires as well, and will be joined on the third row by Barton in the Racing Point, also on the medium tires. So some split strategy ahead, but yeah, those two will be probably pretty happy. Third row, medium tires, preferred strategy. Should be liking their chances of a good result. JX in seventh. He's going to be on the soft tires. Joining him on the fourth row is Zamoglis, who will be on the mediums. So JX is the last of those soft runners, so he might be in a slightly vulnerable position in this race, being a little bit further down the field, and maybe not on the best race tire. But it is, let's pick up where we left off here with JX and the Haas. Zamoglis in 8th on the medium tires, same thing with Beck in 9th, Bag of Bones in 10th, both on the mediums. Fuzz, just outside the top 10, will be starting on his choice of tires, as will Jinnit. So everybody in the top 10 locked into those tire choices. Fuzz and Jinnit will get to start on whatever tires they please. I would imagine mediums, maybe hards. We'll also have to see if the weather will be affecting the race at all, but some good laps up at the front from J. Cole and Miami. Very, very competitive between those two. Will be an exciting race for them off the line. As I was saying at the beginning of qualifying, a couple different strategy choices here. If you're starting on the softs, I believe you can make the soft hard work. Might be a little bit challenging for tire wear. Two stop, soft, medium, medium. You do lose a little bit of time here in the pit lane. It's deceptively long, especially towards the end. But with that revised pit entry, you don't lose quite as much at the beginning, but can make a two-stop work with a smaller grid here. Some more clear air might make that two-stop just slightly more attractive, as you're a little bit less likely to get caught up in traffic. And then for everyone who started on the mediums, I think pretty easy medium hard for them. So we'll see what people opt to do, but yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. France is one of those tracks where track limits will also play a factor, as we saw in qualifying. A lot of invalid laps, could see a lot of time penalties from some of these drivers, so could be a bit of a topsy-turvy race. But as they're setting out for their formation lap, let's get some details set up here. Always like to know the position change at the beginning of the race. Let's just check for both Fuzz and Jinnit outside the top 10. They both chose to start on the hard tires. So they're going to be hoping to maybe go deep into this race and take advantage of any safety cars or anything like that. So for Fuzz and Jinnit, lap 1, keep your front wings out of trouble, because if they need to box and replace their front wings, they're going to be at that much greater of a disadvantage if they don't have the hard tires to go onto. So for Fuzz and Jinnit, lap 1, keeping their front wings intact is going to be of the utmost importance. But yeah, France, as I was saying, is a track limit, or is a track where track limits can really, really come back to bite you, kind of like we've seen at Canada in recent races. But yeah, it is a track where you can follow along pretty well if you can keep close to someone through the third sector. The third sector, I think, is the most challenging to follow. but you are aided by a really long straight at the beginning of Sector 2. The chicane in the middle of the straight is a pretty good spot to overtake. And you have that other DRS zone down the main straight, which will help a little bit as well. So it can be a track that's pretty easy to follow. And you've got a couple good overtaking opportunities, but it all focuses on if you can stay close to them through the third sector in those tricky braking zones, which we will see. And like some of the other tracks, the soft tires can kind of fall off pretty rapidly, so it'll be important for all the soft runners in the top 10 to be very aware of their tires and making sure they pit before they start to lose too much time. So we will get all of this wish I could see the lights, but 5 lights I'm assuming are on somewhere even if we can't see them, and they're off and away we go. J. Cole looks like he's got a pretty good start. Oh, tough to tell through turn 1. Ooh, there's Barton spun around, so as I was trying to get a view of what has been happening, and it doesn't help that the grid is all mixed up as it always is lap 1 with those timing lines, but it looks like Barton has gone around, so don't know exactly what happened. He looks like his front wing is intact, but his tires will be lit up for sure. It is J. Cole out in front, followed by Miami. The top 5 as they were. Zamaglis has gained 2 positions. Fuzz has gained 3, so a great start to him. Zenith has moved up, and Barton unfortunately caught up in a little bit of drama lap 1, but top 5 unchanged. We'll see if anybody can make moves going through the third sector here. Looks like Beck and Bag of Bones going side by side. We'll see if Beck is able to stick it around the outside here. He's still got his ERS and overtake. That's going to be making it even harder. And Zenith, very opportunistic move. There is a glitch where if you're on overtake on the formation lap, it will stay in overtake for the race. I hope that's not what's happening to Beck right now, as that can be a race killer. Looks like he might have had some front wing damage from something. Barton not choosing to go into the pits lap 1, so he must have been okay for front wings, but looking up at the front, J. Cole has settled in pretty well to the lead so far. Miami in second. Like I said, the top 5 unchanged and all within a second of each other, so a train could be starting to form, which will work to the advantage of Zridema and Puppet Master, who are on the mediums, and I believe Zamaglis is also on the mediums, so of those top 6, 3 of them will be very happy with that train forming. Excel and J. Cole and Miami will be a little bit unhappy, as they're hoping to stretch their advantage on those soft tires. Miami is going to need to push really hard through this third sector, get as much benefit from those soft tires as he can if he wants to break DRS to Zridema behind. Could be crucial for his race if he's able to extend that gap over 1 second. Looks like he's just got that gap over a second, so a good job from him. DRS, of course, will be the main straight, not activated this lap, but as they're going for this lap now, DRS should be enabled, as we see there from race control, which will mean Miami is in a great position right now, because if he can, he's clear to, he's gapped Zridema behind, and he's right on the tail of J. Cole in front, so if Miami's able to get a good exit here and follow closely, get into that slipstream, he might think about making a move for the lead this lap or next lap, as Dylan is also might be thinking about making a move. Miami looks to be too far back. Dylan might just be a little bit, he's a little bit closer. He looks like he could have been a lot later on the brakes there. I think he might have a move here on the next lap or two. For those runners on the soft tires, now's the time to make those moves and to seize those opportunities, because those soft tires will start to fall away. So Barton and Beck, the unlucky ones on lap 1 here. Beck has opted to go for the hard tires, so I don't think the hard tires will quite go the whole distance. We have a yellow flag in Sector 3. It looks like that's Bag of Bones, so I don't know what caused that as we were looking through some other information, but a bad day for Racing Point so far, as each of the drivers have had some sort of spin so far. Dylan is very close. We'll follow along with him and keep an eye on that gap between Miami and Jake Cole at the front, but Dylan very, very close here, within that half a second, which you really need to be in order to make a move. Barton has already picked up a 3-second time penalty, so track limits for Barton already coming into effect, and we're only on lap 4, so it could be a very long race for him. Dylan right on that half a second gap. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. DRS pretty powerful down this straightaway, but half a second is a lot of time to make up. So again, it looks like Dylan's just being a little bit careful there. I think he could push it a little bit harder. He looks to just be biding his time. Like I said, he's going to want to get a move on here pretty soon to take advantage of those soft tires. We've got Zamoglis following pretty closely behind Puppet Master, both of those drivers on the medium, so 4th position, and JX doing all he can to hold on to the back of that train. But after JX, we have a little bit of a gap to Jinnit and Fuzz, each of them starting outside the top 10, opting for those hard tires. Then Barton and Bag of Bones, the 2 Racing Points we know have had spins. Beck had to box lap 1 with wing damage. Zamoglis thinking about going for a move up the inside of Puppet Master, but just having to back out of it. Keeping an eye on the gaps at the front, it looks like Dylan has not been able to close that gap in very much to Zuidema ahead. As Zamoglis and Puppet Master going side by side. Puppet Master around the outside. Can he hold it? Not quite. Can he do the switchback? Not quite. He's forced to just kind of stick in the slipstream. Great job from Zamoglis putting his car exactly where it needed to be. Miami now very close to J. Cole. Is he going to make a dive up the inside? No, he thinks better of it. I think the opportunity, just another 100 meters or so, and I think he would have had enough of that slipstream effect in order to make a move, but just ran out of road a little bit there. Dylan has fallen back quite a little bit, so he might be feeling the effects of that tire wear a little bit already at this point on lap 5. Looks like pretty clear skies, so hopefully no weather affecting the race, but as we know, that can change rather quickly. But he's very close to falling falling out of DRS range as he's boxing already, so an early pit for him. We'll see if that is mirrored by any of the other soft runners in the top 10. Barton and Fuzz very close to each other. There's a little bit of a tire difference there. Barton recovering from that spin. I believe that he was the one who spun on lap 1 and then Bag of Bones just on maybe lap 4. But there's a little bit of a train here. Fuzz is crucially out of DRS from Jin in the head, and Barton will have it. So Barton did pretty well there to hold. Miami very close, but not able to do it. Let's see if Barton's going to go for the move or not. Just like so many drivers we've seen, just running out of road a little bit. Ooh, his back end gets away from him a little bit there on traction out of the chicane. Up at the front, the gap is about 4/10 between Miami and J. Cole, but as we demo, his medium tires are going to start to phase in very well now as those softs start to fade away. So he is in a very, very good position as Miami has dived into the pits. So he's also picked up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. As I mentioned earlier, this is a slightly different pit lane than was originally on the game. Not this game, but in previous games, versions of France, so can still take some getting used to, and he looks like he is caught out there a little bit as Barton very close to the back of Fuzz there. Fuzz catching up to the back of Zenith, so some really, really close competition there. All three of those drivers have not made a stop yet. Barton knows that if he wants to finish ahead of those two at the end of the race, he's going to have to get a move on here. As this is where his tire advantage is. So as we demo, looking at the gap at the front, it's coming down quickly. So J. Cole, I feel like, has to respond this lap in box. Otherwise, he might be losing out to the Renaults. And you can see here his teammate is catching him, so he just has so much more grip. Those soft tires look like they're really starting to fade. As J. Cole has boxed as we expected. So as we demo, that will mean he takes the race lead, and he's got a pretty big, decent sized gap back to Zimaglis. Right now it looks like we'll see once the pit stops get sorted. It's about 4 seconds, which is pretty significant around here. And Zimaglis has Puppet Master to deal with, so Puppet Master's done a good job. Not only does he have Puppet Master to deal with, but he has a 3-second time penalty. Puppet Master looks like he's done a good job saving his ERS, as well as Zimaglis has had to use quite a bit of his to stay in front. Puppet Master has 80% of his battery, so he might fancy a chance at taking a run at Zimaglis here in the next lap or two, using up a lot of his battery and then seeing if he can break DRS. So Puppet Master, don't count him out of this race yet. Podium definitely a possibility for him, maybe even a likelihood. We'll have to see how the one-stop works for the runners who started on the softs. Looks like Miami and Dylan have both gone to the medium, so they're either really fancying their chances of the two-stop, or maybe considering stretching the mediums, but I think that's a pretty tall order. J. Cole has gone onto the hards, so he's committing to the one-stop. JX, who also started on the softs, is boxed for the softs, or for the mediums, excuse me. So knowing all that, you have to think that these two are effectively fighting for P2 of the Grand Prix, as it looks like everybody else except for J. Cole will need to pit one more time in this race. So don't count J. Cole out yet either, but for the Renaults, unless that two-stop really starts to work for him, don't know if a podium's the likelihood for them or not, but as Miami has also picked up a 3-second time penalty, so like I said, time penalties will be a factor here. We have a yellow in Sector 1. That looks like JX has spun through Turn 1 and 2. And I can't tell if he's lost a bit of end plate. Nope, that was just a bad angle. So Beck has gotten back ahead of him, but looks like it's just spinning through Turn 1 too. Some trains starting to form here, some gaps starting to form as well. Dylan, if he wants to finish ahead of J. Cole, he's going to have to get this move done. As J. Cole highly likely going to the end on those hard tires, so Dylan's going to need to get a move on. His Puppet Master's dived into the pits, so an early pit stop, I think. Starting on the mediums, he's decided to box, so he might be going for the undercut now. I would have thought those mediums had a little bit more life left in them. But he's deciding to go for the undercut, and he's going to go into the hard tires. So we'll see now if that forces a response from Zamoglis. As we know, Puppet Master had picked up quite a bit of, saved up quite a bit of battery behind Zamoglis. So maybe instead of trying to get past him and then go into P2 in this race, he's decided to use his ERS maybe on his outlap, because he's got almost a full battery. So he's going to, if he wants to make good use of the undercut, I would say start using that overtake. We'll see if he deploys any of it down the back straight now. As Bag of Bones and J. Cole are going closely here. J. Cole with the DRS was able to get that move done on the straight. So even before they got to braking. It's also on much fresher tires, even though they're a compound harder. Puppet Master not having a particularly quick outlap, as we see Zuidema also now boxing, Zamoglis boxing as well. Jinnit now will take the lead of the race, followed by Fuzz. So the two drivers who started 11th and 12th, they're going to be first and second. So if you're Jinnit or Fuzz right now, you are praying for a safety car, as that will effectively give you a podium position, as they've got a pretty decent gap to Miami, and you'd have to think that if anybody behind them, if a safety car came out now, would probably be boxing. Barton has gone for the soft tires. I don't remember what compound he started on, but we have a very close battle here in 11th and 12th between JX and Beck. As we say that, another DRS overtake. Dylan has got ahead of Bag of Bones. It's crucially still falling 2 seconds back of J. Cole. I mean, tough to see Dylan finishing on the podium here, especially knowing that he's going to have to make another stop. And J. Cole will be good to the end, Zuidema will be good to the end, Puppet Masters and Logwas, all those drivers going to the end of this Grand Prix. Like I said, a safety car now, there's going to be some big winners and some big losers from that safety car, but Dylan, see if he can make any inroads now as he's cleared a little bit of traffic. So Dema thought about making a move up the inside there into turn 1, but just is having to wait. Now he's going down the inside into turn 3. Can Bag of Bones hold it around the outside here? I don't think so. He's been on those medium tires for quite a long time. Everybody else who started on the mediums has decided to box, so he's the last of those medium runners, as JXW has picked up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings for exceeding track limits. Bag of Bones might go down the inside here. Once again, we've seen him and several other drivers just need a little bit more space. Oh, he's got on the curb there. And that's going to be those medium tires pretty much at the end of their life here. Puppet Master is able to get past him pretty easily. I don't think Bag of Bones has much tires, as much left in his tires to fight that. But the undercut from Puppet Master has worked out very well, as he's got quite the gap to Zimoglis. I mean, his tires are slightly older at the end of this Grand Prix, but those two, Puppet Master was sitting behind Zimoglis for pretty much the whole first stint. But he has now been able to make that undercut work, and the gap is about 2 seconds. So he'll be really pleased with that. Zenith out front is clear of DRS from Fuzz. Miami in third. He's in a pretty good spot. He will need to make another pit stop in this race. J. Cole should be good to go to the end. So J. Cole and boxed much earlier than his teammate. He's got 3 lap older tires than Zwiedema, who started on the mediums. Gap between them looks to be about 4 seconds or so, give or take. Don't know if those 3 lap older tires will be enough to make up that 4-second gap. We will just have to wait and see, but both of the Renaults will need to make another stop. Fuzz and Zenith will need to make another stop. And Zwiedema is just loving those hard tires. He's very close to the back of Dylan. Puppet Master will be good to the end, as will Zimoglis. Barton will definitely need to make another stop, as he's on the soft tires. So it looks like with the smaller field, he's gone for a little bit of an alternate strategy, especially after some early struggles. We know he's just set the fastest lap a few laps ago, if you saw that pop up at the bottom of the screen. So he might just be holding out for a safety car or something. Otherwise, probably, I would imagine, fit the mediums or maybe another set of softs and go to the end. Beck will probably want to stop again. He boxed pretty early for those hards. I don't think they will have enough life left in them. Bag of Bones should be good to go to the end, so a safety car will work out well for him to bring him back to the field. JXW will probably need to box again as well. So a lot of drivers, as Excel, Zwiedema getting by Dylan pretty easily there down the DRS straight. On fresher tires, even though they're the hards versus the mediums, makes quite a big difference around here. So gaps starting to form between a lot of drivers. We see like I said, quite a bit of mix of strategies here, and making it a little bit difficult, I think, for drivers to know exactly where they stand and who they need to battle. But looks like Fuzz has decided to go into the pits. So about halfway through this race, he thinks the mediums will last till the end. I tend to agree with him. I think those mediums should be pretty good for the rest of the Grand Prix. So we'll see if Zenith responds this next lap. We've seen the undercut work well for Puppet Master so far in this race, so hopefully Fuzz is thinking that it'll work for him as well. Speaking of Puppet Master, he's within DRS of Barton, who's on the soft tires. If I'm Puppet Master here, I almost think you save some of that overtake, you build up some of that battery, and just stick in the DRS of Barton, who you know is going to be faster at this point in the Grand Prix. We'll see if Zenith responds to Fuzz pitting here, if he chooses to box this lap. He's got the little wrench that means his pit window is open, but he stays out for another lap. So he thinks those hards have got a little bit more life left in them, or maybe he's going to be extending and trying to go to the softs to finish out the race potentially as well. I would have to think that the hard to medium would probably be preferable to the hard soft, just after seeing what little life those soft tires have, but could be wrong. J. Cole is going to be really pleased with his position in this race right now. He's got a 3-second gap, almost 4-second gap to his teammate behind. He knows Miami's going to have to make another pit stop. So he's effectively in the lead of this race with his teammate Zuidema behind. Then I would think you'd have to say Puppet Master probably on for that third podium spot right now. But we will wait and see, as looks like JX, W, and Beck going side by side. Let's get back to this battle at the front. We'll keep an eye on Zenith, who's in P1 currently, to see if he dives in. Otherwise, you have to think he'd be going... Nope, he's staying out another lap, so he must be trying to go to the softs here, or just holding up for a safety car. Safety car right now for Zenith would be a blessing. Still have all 12 drivers we started with, and we started with 12 today, smaller field, but we got all of them left. As Dylan has come in for his second pit stop. J. Cole all over the back of Miami as Beck picks up a 3-second time penalty. Yellow flag in Sector 3. That looks like it's JXW. Don't know what happened to him. Looks like his front wing is intact, so he might have just lit up his tires. I'm not sure. But Zenith's still only a 10th and change off of his fastest lap through Sector 1, so it's not bad at this point on 17 lap old tires. 16. He's lost quite a bit more time there. 7/10 down now. He's got almost no battery. You have to think he's pushing for an in-lap here. I know we won't be able to see it, but Barton has gone 6 laps on those softs, so maybe trying to stretch the softs from here. Yep, he's got to be. So he's staying out another lap. If I'm J. Cole here, I say just sit in the slipstream as long as you can. Save up all that battery, save up your fuel. It's not worth going for the overtake and not being successful. He's got to know that he's effectively in P1 right now, as both drivers ahead will need to box. Puppet Master has picked up a 3-second time penalty. I believe Zamoglis had one already as well, so it leaves those two drivers level in terms of time penalties. I don't think any of the Renaults or Williams have time penalties. Could be mistaken. Yeah, J. Cole is so close to the back of Miami. You have to think that he's just... He only got about 30% of his battery, but I think for him this is a great time to just store up some ERS, store up some fuel, and then as soon as Miami goes to pit, you can just drive off into the distance. You've still got a gap of over 3 seconds to your teammate, so he's not in really too much danger from behind, but I don't think it's worth the risk and then giving Miami DRS behind. As Zenith finally has come into the pits. So I'm assuming, yep, he fits the soft tires. We'll see where he comes out relative to Fuzz. Those two were battling starting outside the top 10. J. Cole gets that move done as his teammate sets the fastest lap. So we'll see now what pace he's got in those hard tires. They're a lap younger than the mediums behind, but obviously a compound harder. And Zenith has come out behind. In the meantime, I totally missed Fuzz getting past Zimaglis as well. So that reverse strategy really coming into its own for Fuzz. So he's got a comfortable gap now behind. But Zenith will be joining that party within a lap or two, I would imagine, as those softs have a ton of pace initially. They do fall off quickly. Barton has boxed again for the softs, as has Beck, so I imagine we'll see quite a few drivers going for that point for fastest lap. If you're towards the end of the top 10, I'd say it's a pretty safe bet, as Miami is now coming into the pits, so we'll see where he comes out. As we have a yellow flag in Sector 2, it is Bag of Bones who's around at the chicane. Looks like he is back. Can't tell if it looks like he had a puncture there for a minute, but it looks like he's okay. So the two-stop not working out so far for the Renaults, as they're down in 7th and 8th. Miami has gone for the mediums. I would think the softs for sure would go from here, but maybe he doesn't have a fresh set of softs. But up at the front, it is J. Cole, who's leading by about 3 seconds. He's on older tires than his teammate Zuidema, but he's got that gap of about 3 seconds. So we'll see how much that tire wear affects him. Keep an eye on that gap. Puppet Master is in 3rd. Zenith has made it past his teammate and made it past Fuzz. So he's up into 4th. Fuzz, who started outside the top 10, went for the one-stop hards to mediums, is in 5th. And Zimaglis in 6th. So it looks like the podium is pretty well set, but this battle for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, I'm sure when the Renaults catch up as well, as they're both on fresh mediums and be pushing hard, could be pretty spicy. As Zenith sets the fastest lap at 1:30, 1:32. Solid lap. Fuzz is still just within the DRS range. It looks like that lockup through turn 1 hurt him just a little bit. Zimaglis behind, though, is going to be trying to do everything he can to stay within DRS of Fuzz ahead. That gap is just now over a second, so he will not have it, unfortunately. All these gaps really starting to extend now. Every gap in this race is over a second. For Zenith, we'll be monitoring that gap to Puppet Master, but that battle for that final podium position could be on here if Zenith is able to make the most of those softs. Up at the front, J. Cole still leading fairly comfortably. That gap has dipped down to about 2.4 seconds to his teammate Zuidema. It's dropping little by little, so that tire wear, oh, it's dropping rapidly. What's happening up there? Dropped by 6/10. It's just disappearing. Maybe Zuidema pushing here, using up his battery. That gap was... It's gone down by almost a full second within the last 2 sectors. So definitely need to be watching that and watching Zenith as he's closed that gap by about 3/10 as well to Puppet Master for that final podium position. Barton pushing very hard to get up to Dylan, but he's marginal on fuel and has almost no battery left, so he's doing all he can to just stay within DRS. It'll be difficult to overtake if this is his battery and fuel situation, however. Up at the front, that gap has stabilized at about 1.6 seconds. It was about 2.4, 2.5, and then just out of nowhere, almost a full second. So maybe J. Cole made a mistake. Maybe Zuidema really pushing, but that gap is really starting to come down. If that gets under a second, then Zuidema could be on for a move here. So we'll have to monitor that. That gap between Zenith and Puppet Master also coming down. So some really tight battles up at the front. Could make for a very spicy last lap or two if those drivers are able to catch DRS. Kind of a battle for the lead and for that final podium position. I'm not sure what Zenith's situation with penalties is. I'm pretty sure Puppet Master has 3 seconds. Zenith, I don't know if he does or not, but that could make a difference as well. If Zenith doesn't have penalties, he might just choose to sit where he is. And even though he might not take it on track, finish in P3 after those penalties have been applied. I think most drivers, including Zenith, will want to get those moves done on track, though. Zuidema is closing up really quickly to J. Cole. That gap is now just about 1.2 seconds. If he's able to find a couple tenths here and get DRS, that move could be on. Same thing with Zenith, it's about 1.2 seconds. Both of those drivers so close to DRS. Ooh, as Barton gets a little wobbly there. Let's follow on board with Zenith for a little bit, as well as keep an eye on that gap between Zuidema and J. Cole up at the front. That gap is very, very close to a second, as now it's dipped just under a second. So with 4 laps to go, you can have a battle for the lead between teammates and a battle for P3 between 2 drivers on vastly different strategies. So either J. Cole's tires have just totally given up, or Zuidema has just found another gear here. But that gap has just been disappearing the last few laps. Lap 21, it was over 2 seconds, and now it's less than a second he's going to have DRS. Can be tricky to overtake here, as we've seen that DRS straight doesn't quite give you as much room as you might want. But he's going to have a little bit better traction. As Zenith just outside of DRS, we'll be keeping an eye on that gap as well. Like I said, I'm not sure. I don't believe either of these front 2 drivers have time penalties. Puppet Master, I believe, has 3 seconds. Zimaglis, I believe, has 3 seconds, which shouldn't affect him currently. Zenith, I'm not sure what Zenith or Fuzz's penalty situation is, but this gap at the front is just less than half seconds, 4 tenths between the 2 Williams. And Zuidema might make a move here. Might be thinking of saving up a little bit of ERS and maybe making a move on the last lap. Never want to leave it too late. You also don't want to give your rival an opportunity to make that same overtake on you. You want to have that DRS advantage. He's not using any of his overtake button right now. I think that's probably wise. Save that little bit of battery. He's got about 30%. Let's just check J. Cole's only got about 20%. So small margin, but could be crucial. Jennett's not quite been able to close that gap under a second, so that makes me think that maybe Jennett doesn't have a penalty and was just content to sit there and not risk anything. DRS here, but no overtake being used by J. Cole or Zuidema. J. Cole not using any. Looks like he's marginal on fuel as they get very close. So it looks like Zuidema is going to save it for the last lap. Like I said, I'm not sure. I don't believe either of these two have penalties, but could be wrong. The gap is so close though. Zuidema has just had so much more pace these closing laps, as it must be that J. Cole's tires are just really starting to give up on him. We could have an overtake for the lead and for the win on this last lap. So as they run the final corner, oh, they're so close. The gap between them is virtually nothing. I wonder if he'll make the move into turn one here. Is he going to go around the outside? He does, so he makes the move. J. Cole will have an opportunity going down the back straight here if he can stay within that second, which I imagine he should be able to. Looking back the field, Jennett has pulled that gap within a second. So he's going to have DRS going down the back straight. So we'll see what happens between these two for the lead, and then take a look back and see what happens between the other two for P3. But J. Cole doesn't look like he's got the grip. It looks like his tires have just totally given up these last few laps. And that gap's already over a second. So he's got DRS and he's got it open, but nothing happening. So I don't know if he picked up. It doesn't look like he's picked up damage. It must just be the tires. Jennett just that little bit further back. Looks like he's been pushing super hard as he has almost no battery left. Puppet Master ahead has also been pushing hard to stay in P3. Miami has gotten past Zamaglis further back. But Zuidema just played that perfectly. He used that medium strategy. You can see the advantage that they gave him here at the end of the race, as those hard tires were just that little bit fresher, and that's what made the difference. So it is Excel Zuidema coming home to take P1. A great race from him, making the medium hard look beautifully. J. Cole finishes in P2. Further down, we'll see what penalties happen, but Puppet Master is going to cross the line in P3. But Jennett looks like... Oh, did Puppet Master pick that up on the last lap? I'm not sure, but Jennett's going to get P3, so from outside the top 10 for Jennett and Fuzz, they come to finish P3 and P4. Zamaglis is going to be up in P6. The Renos of Miami and Dillon P7 and 8. Barton in P9. Bag of Bones, his Racing Point teammate, holding off back here. Can't remember their penalty situation, but one of those two drivers will be getting that final point today. We'll have to wait and see, but it is Excel Zuidema and his teammate J. Cole. Looks like Bag of Bones did hold on for that final point. Jennett and Fuzz coming in third and fourth from starting outside the top 10. A great race from them. Like I said, starting 11th, 12th, they finished P3 and P4, so good race from them. Very entertaining race, all dry, no safety car, no VSC even in this race, so a bit of a surprise there, but it is Excel Zuidema winning today. Starting on the mediums, J. Cole in second, Zenith third, Fuzz in fourth, Puppet Master 5th, Zamogla 6th, Miami and Dylan, the two Renaults, 7th and 8th respectively, Barton in 9th, his teammate Bagabones in 10th. Beck took fastest lap, won't get the point for it as he finishes outside the top 10 in 11th, and JXW rounding out the grid in P12. So as we can see, the penalties there really affecting drivers 5 through 7, totally mixed up their results, and Barton had 15 seconds, so that definitely affected him as well. But congratulations to Zuidema and J. Cole, the two Williams, P1, P2, Zenith coming from last to podium, so a good race from him as well. Very entertaining race up and down the field, even though it was a smaller field tonight. Still a very entertaining race next week. Just checking the calendar. Next week we have, I believe it is Austria. So tune in next week, same time, same place for the Austrian Grand Prix. Thanks for watching. This has been ZOR EU Tier, the French Grand Prix. Thanks guys, and we'll see you next week.